I'm kind of conflicted in this video because over the last 10 years I have spoken from time to time, made posts uh, about this issue, but it really feels like it's pissing in the wind. Especially since it's gotten so much worse, and it seems to be getting much worse. So I don't know if this is going to do any good, which is why I say pissing in the wind. But who knows? Maybe it'll reach a few people, or maybe at least on a selfish note, maybe some of my Facebook friends who could could use this, that. Well, let me just get to it. I'm stuttering and stammering here. What I want to talk about, and it's caused by many things. It's caused by social engineering, technology. It's more apparent with the millennials, but really it's the last few younger generations, and because of technology and social technology, it's seeped into all ages. So I see all age groups, are guilty, for lack of a better word, of this. So I want to talk about basically this aloof behavior that's swept the world. And when I say aloof, if you look it up, aloof is something where being aloof, or someone who's aloof, means somebody who doesn't give ready information. They like to remain mysterious. They want interactions with others, but only on their terms, in their ways, and in their time. And although they like information they want to get, they're inquisitive and they want you to keep giving and giving. They give very little back, and they always remain vague. And you see with their profile things, they want to know everything that's going on in the world with their friends, but their Facebook pages are locked up tighter, like. So there's just another example, but there's so many examples of it. And the truth is, and I'm going to be totally honest with you here, 90% of you that are watching this, 90% of you, that's right, most of you are going to think this isn't about you, and it is about you. Okay. Unless you're one of the very few like myself, and we're a very small crew around the world that purposely, because we see what's going on in the world. This is a world of secrets and lies and aloof behavior. And so we try to be transparent. So for 10 years, I've been incredibly transparent on my page. Not meaning that I share every little thing about myself. You got to have some privacy. But I haven't held back. I don't. I completely let it all hang out. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And I do so in a social, thoughtful way. So this aloof behavior is mostly online. The odd thing is, although you do see with the millennials, because they've never actually had social, they've only had this kind of social engineering, they can't have conversations. So we've seen it. I'm sure you know lots of millennials. You can't talk to them. They don't know how to communicate in real world, which is why they prefer texting, which is why they a lot of them put up rules and say, I will not pick up my phone. I will not talk to you. Only by text, because they can hide behind their little text, continue the antisocial bad behavior that they don't want to admit, and they don't have to learn how to speak to people. And be transparent with their emotions and what they're feeling. They can't. So back to the text. So that's why millennials, you see the worst. But like I said, it's spread to all the generations, but it's prominently online. Because in the real world, with the exception of millennials, the other generations switch back to their old training, meaning from their parents and from life, and they know how to have a conversation. And I'm going to give examples of the real world to really nail this through to people, so you really understand of how aloof and how unhealthy and how antisocial all this behavior is, and how it won't fly in the real world. And that's the best example and proof of why it's no good, why it's antisocial and unhealthy, because it wouldn't fly in the real world. So we see it mostly on Facebook, of course. Any other online thing, YouTube, whatever. But of course, Facebook is the most prevalent because people are supposedly creating friendships there, and yet huge amount of people don't share a lot. And there's so many that actually just secretly stalk their friends. They watch their posts, but they never like, they never say anything. That's again a part of the same thing. And I know a lot of you guys, I'm going to keep going through this, as you're going to make excuses and say, well, yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. They're fucking excuses. There might be a few things that, okay, but chances are anything you say, and hopefully with my examples of the real world, will hopefully nip most of those in the bud. So let's get to the behavior, so you'll know what I'm talking about. The biggest culprit, I don't think we'll talk much about commenting on people's posts. There's all kinds of, obviously troll behavior. A lot of people don't realize that they're behaving like trolls. I've even caught myself on very rare occasion doing it. You thought you were just giving your opinion, but you weren't really. You were just, because you're not committed to this subject, and you've just popped in and said something to disrupt everything and then fucked off. So that's troll behavior. So we've been social engineering to be trolls. And then there are, of course, a lot of people that are real trolls, either professional, meaning they're being paid to be trolls, or all the others, much greater number, that just do it because they're just sociopaths that like fucking with people. And they like the energy exchange. And we're going to talk about that. That's one of the big reasons. Besides social engineering, there's also another culprit here to this behavior. And it's because humans are unaware that, for lack of a better word, but I'm going to use the word because it's commonly used, so it should sink in when I say it, energy vampires. The truth is, almost all human beings are guilty of this, and they're just unaware of it. I forget his name, but the man who wrote the Celestine Prophecies, one of his follow-up books, I believe it's the workbook. It beautifully lays out, and this is based on he did decades of research and talked to psychiatrists, and so all this information in the book comes from experts and experienced people, and basically it lays out all the different ways that humans are unaware that through trauma and conditioning, they're unaware that they often are behaving like energy vampires. They're taking energy from people. So the reason I'm bringing that up is there's different categories. I think there's 6 or 7. There's the intimidator. There's the poor me. That's someone who's always wanting how horrible their life is, but they don't really want to take advice. They don't really want to do anything about it, because what they're doing is they're getting the energy, the sympathy. But one of them is called the aloof, and the reason it's so important is this is the biggest personality trait that I've seen now, that most people are aloof in some way or another, and especially online. So basically, when I say we're conditioned and traumatized, it means we pick it up from our family members and the world around us, and we don't even know that. And they say that most people aren't one type of energy. Again, I'll say vampire for lack of a better word. Most people are a combination of them, because they picked a little up, say, from their uncle, a little bit from their mom. And so most people are a little bit aloof sometimes, and maybe they might be a little bit intimidated. It just depends. Very rarely are they just one thing. So we pick it up. We don't even know it. And so where this aloof behavior really shows its ugly face is, again, online, and especially Facebook, and especially Messenger. I talked a little bit about the comments, but again, I don't want to get into too much about that. I talked about trolling, but which is also, a troll is taking your energy. That's what it's about. So aloof behavior is a technique of taking energy, because you want the information, you want some kind of interaction, but you're giving very little back. And just to show you how energy exchanges work, we'll give both examples. So you ever meet someone and you just connect right away, and you're just on all cylinders, you got so much in common, or whatever it is, and you're just talking a mile a minute back and forth. Really? I did that too. You're from there, and you did. And so sometimes it can go on hours, and at the end of it, you both feel full of energy. And the reason you feel full of energy is because you were both giving each other energy. Nobody was taking, and it was back and forth. So I'm giving you, you're giving me, I'm giving you, you're giving me. So yeah, you end up buzzed from it often. And the opposite is true. You ever get into a long argument with someone, you always feel exhausted at the end of it. Why do you feel exhausted? It's because it was an energy battle. It was, nobody was giving energy. It was pull, 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 or bash, bash, bash. So those are the two extreme examples. And so, again, we go back to this so common. I mean, we see other people. I've talked about it and I coined it transparency. And so it's about being transparent in a non-transparent world. But again, what it really points down to the behavior is aloof behavior. And again, so now I'm going to give examples of this. I'm sure for many of you, you're going to come up with those examples too. But especially contacting in Messenger. People are behaving incredibly aloof. I get bombarded with people that do this, and it gets quite irritating. And I used to put up with it to extremes. I haven't for a long time. I give people a short window to be thoughtful and try to be social. And if they're not, I will tell them what I need from them to do if they want to talk to me. We've got to start do it in a thoughtful, social way. And if they won't after that, then I just won't respond back to them. So that's how I've handled it, but it's still irritating as hell because I want to help or talk to, whatever the reason they're contacting me. So what are people doing? And again, you've experienced this too. For one thing, people often will reach out, even though you're just Facebook friends and you've never had any interaction, so you're still kind of strangers except for what you've learned about each other through the posts. Sometimes it's years you've been friends, or whatever it is. It's really common for people just to start saying, how's it going? Okay, well, excuse me, we've never spoken before, so that's right there. It's a tiny example, but that's not, it's hi. When I do that, I'll be like, hi, we've been friends for 4 years on Facebook, but we really haven't had a whole lot of interactions. But the reason I'm messaging you is, and then I state it. But that's not what people do anymore. They just start talking at other people. And it's usually people they know that will, like me or others that are big-hearted and that will allow it. So there's a reason, and again, because it's something, it's not conscious, it's subconscious, because they need, this is a place I can get energy from. That's really what it is. They want the energy from the interaction, but they don't really want to have a social interaction. They don't want it to be back and forth. And you see that in the behavior. So starting with, hey, how's it going? And I've played along. Fine, how are you? Good. And then there's nothing. No. Again, let's go back to the real world. Would that fly in the real world? Could you just walk up to a stranger or an acquaintance and say, how's it going? And they go, good, how are you? And you go, good. And then you just stare at them. Would that conversation go anywhere? No. And even if the other person is highly social and try to make something of it in that behavior, that person will just continue. You would just continue to give short little answers and not really participate. That person's going to walk off because there's nothing to be had there. You're just being weird and eating up their time for no apparent reason. But I'm telling you the reason. It's an energy exchange. You're taking their energy. I don't like the term energy vampire, but we haven't come up with a healthier term for that. So that's why I'm going to use it in this video. But I don't consider humans vampires. If we are, then everybody's a vampire. So, but anyways, so let's get on to the other little ways, these little faux pas or whatnot. How about, and this is a really bad one. Again, millennials are the worst at it, but social engineering and this technology has now all ages do it. Just millennials are more, prevalent in doing it. And that is starting a conversation and then walking off for days or weeks or months. And even worse, not answering somebody, which is totally now acceptable apparently in Facebook, where you'll actually try to talk to these people and then you'll say, well, what is the minute? And then they'll just leave. And they might answer you in 3 weeks or 3 months. Usually they don't answer, they just leave it be. So whatever's going on in their head, I don't care what the reason is. I'm sure there's all kinds of excuses again that will come up. Anybody who is guilty of all this, I'm sure, is coming up with lots of excuses. Busy will be one of them. Bullshit. Nobody's as busy as the behavior I'm seeing. Apparently everybody's too busy to have a 10-minute conversation. You know what? If you're too busy, then don't start the conversation. So whatever you're coming up with, excuses, that's what they are. But in the real world, there's no excuse for not answering somebody when they're speaking to you. Correct? Right? Let that sink in. In the real world, if somebody said, what time is it, say a coworker, would it be cool not to answer them? And then when it says, hello, I'm talking to you, to continue not to answer them and just sit there? No, that would be totally fucking weird and antisocial. But on Facebook, it's completely, and in Messenger specifically, and maybe emails too, but let's stick with Messenger because that's the most obvious back and forth way of communicating. And so where all this behavior shows up most prevalent. People do it all the time. They'll just walk off from a conversation, even at the beginning. It's only been 2 minutes. So, again, it's not thoughtful. It's not social. It's antisocial. You're basically just talking at somebody and then fucking off. And when you're doing that, again, that's energy exchange. Among other things. It's probably other things as well. But whatever they are, it's not healthy. And it means you have issues. Being cryptic. Reaching out to someone to talk. I get people who are reaching out. People reach out to me for help for the last 10 years all the time. So I'm there for them, whatever it is they need. The problem is, I'm not exaggerating these numbers. 70% of them, I can't help them because they're not being clear in any way. They're talking cryptic. They're not staying in the conversation, although I'll see them still online. They'll just leave the conversation for whatever reason. Come back to it way later if they feel like it. But they still won't give any information. They mostly they're asking you lots of questions. They want to know about you. Yeah, that's not the way to have a conversation. And if you need help with something, then you have to speak. You have to identify yourself. That's the other thing. People don't identify, even if they're kind of social. So, hi, how's it going? How's your day going? Still, they're not identifying why they're talking to you. Would you do that in the real world? Would you call someone on the phone, say an acquaintance or whatever, and I don't mean family members, that's different. Obviously, we know when a family member calls, you're calling just to catch up. But would you call, say, an acquaintance or a coworker that you're super close to? Would you suddenly call them up? And when they say, what's up? You just start being vague? What time is it there? Oh, it's this time. What's the weather like? It's rainy. How about you? All right, and they just keep going in, and never at any point do they identify why they're calling or get specific or anything. Again, antisocial, energy, vampire behavior. And this video could be an hour long if I wanted to get in and I don't need to. I'm sure for a lot of you, your own, and feel free to comment with all your examples if you want, but I'm sure you've got a million other examples of this antisocial behavior. So yeah, sometimes it's extremes, like especially the ladies get bombarded with weird messages, and they're predators actually, and that's why they're cryptic, because they're preying on it. There's a technique. It's a sociopathic technique. So I'm not really talking about them so much. They're an extreme that I'm talking about the rest of us that aren't intending to do that. Obviously, there's a large amount that are intending to do that, and that's not cool. And all we can do is be aware of them and block them, and not, that's all we can do. So I'm sure a lot of you are, especially women, are now shooting that direction. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't get distracted. We're not talking about sociopaths here, because thinking about them is going to not make you think about your behavior. And I'm not talking to you, because as I said, 90% of you are guilty. 90% of you. So most of you are thinking it's not me, it is you. It's you. So don't start. And that's another deflective way. People deflect all the time. They don't like to self-reflect. So that's one of the things is just start. That's why people love to talk about sociopaths. And even there, honestly, I'd say about at least half the people that I hear calling other people sociopaths are absolute sociopaths themselves. So it's just an easy thing, a label to slap on someone anyways. But I'm not talking about sociopaths. So get that out of your head. Pay attention to the conversation. The conversation is about you. And if it's not you, then this is just for you to go, yeah, I know what you mean, man. Maybe, like me, you'll start putting some boundaries and not allowing people to do this, because it doesn't serve us to enable them either. I tried that because I'm a servant. I tried for years thinking, oh, I can help them. I'll just give them time to open up. Doesn't happen. If that's the behavior, they're not going to open up. They might a little once in a blue moon, but it's not going to happen. So they're just taking your energy, stressing you out, being antisocial, taking up your time. So put boundaries if you have to, or just be clear of how you want to interact with them and what you expect. And another thing is starting a conversation that you don't even have 5 minutes to spend on. Again, a lot of excuses will come up, but I'm sorry, but nobody's this busy. Apparently everybody's too busy to have a 10-minute conversation, but they have plenty of time to start a million 2-minute conversations with all their friends on Facebook, just not enough to have one simple 10 or 20-minute conversation that they started in Messenger. So if you're going to contact somebody about something, do so when you have 10 minutes to talk to them about it. Because when you just go off, continue surfing, they can see you still online. And yes, sometimes people have just walked away from their computers, but they all haven't done that. A lot of them are still online. You'll see them on Facebook still liking posts and stuff, yet they're not finishing the conversation. So they've just buggered off. Again, in the real world, if you were having a social interaction with someone and you're telling a story, how would you feel if right where you're in mid-sentence, someone just walked off? Just walked off on you. Would you think it's cool? Would you think it's social? You think anybody would speak to you if you were doing that? Once it caught on that that's how you are? No, nobody would want to talk to you. They'd say you're a fucking crazy person. But online, it's all good. All this antisocial behavior and all this aloof behavior. So let me wrap this up, because again, I can go on and on and on. This world needs transparency, which is why, by example, I'm so transparent. Some of us are online because we're trying to set an example. So all this hiding and not letting people know who you are and not being honest up front in any interaction, be it online or not online, it's not serving you. It's not serving what you want in relationships, because people will walk away from you. You'll lose people that are social, because we only have so much patience. And if you're not going to change your behavior, why the fuck would we stick around for this? So you're going to lose people. So right there's a benefit to reflect and change on this. And it's about the world. This world is it's bizarre world. Most of what we think we know is not true. And in fact, most things, from the little things to big things, the opposite is true. So again, we're not living in a transparent world. So the way to change that is to be transparent, to be completely honest. And so some of us are like that, and we're the ones that also annoy, because we just say what's on our mind. And we just say what we mean. And it freaks people out. It actually does alienate us more, because more people are becoming aloof and more becoming guarded and protective. And the more we stand out and we look weird. And people do. I've had people say, who the hell just says what they mean? Well, if you want a healthy relationship of any kind, or healthy interaction, that's what's required. And if you want to see the world not continue to be a world of lies and stop, and a world of hiding and secrets, then don't be someone who hides and holds secrets. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Good old Gandhi. So there you go, folks. End of rant. And for any of my Facebook friends, now I've drawn the line, if I haven't already with you, I am available for you. But you need to be social. You need to be clear of why you're contacting me. Stick around at least 10 minutes so we can at least start the conversation or possibly finish it. And just be more thoughtful how you speak to people online, and reflect and see, am I doing these or other things that are antisocial? And if you're aware of it, you can change it. It's just behavior. Behavior can be changed. All right? So cut the crap, everybody. Stop being so aloof. Start being open. If you want other people to be open to you, then you got to reciprocate, right? It's not fair. It's not fucking fair. I actually had to end an 8-year relationship with someone that means so much to me because after 8 years online, they live in a different part of the world. They've essentially refused and to stop the behavior. And so I get contacted literally every 4 to 5 months. And then a little part of the conversation gets put in and then they bugger off again. So I've had to now cut that person off, which breaks my heart, but I had to because they refused to see the behavior and they refused to do anything about it. And of course this is an extreme and most people aren't that bad. Usually they only leave for a few hours or a few days, not 4 to 5 months at a time. So this is a very extreme case, and that's why I've unfortunately had to let them go out of my life because it doesn't serve. Not after 8 years. That's just enabling an unhealthy relationship. So don't let it get to that point. Don't lose people because you want from them, but you don't want to give. Wrong. And besides, it's freeing to share. Life is beautiful when we share, not just the good things, but the bad things, including, our ugly sides. Share it, be honest. It's liberating. It's free. It helps the world become different. And you'll build better relationships. Okay? End of rant. Love you. Take care.